Hello and welcome to Multi-Level Ransomware Protection, introducing FlashRecover S, powered by Cohesity. Today's webinar is sponsored by Pure Storage and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Scott Becker. I'm from Actual Tech Media, and I'm excited to be your moderator for this special event. Now, before we get to today's great content, we do have a few housekeeping items that will help you get the most out of this session. First off, we want this to be an informative event for you, so we encourage any questions in the questions box in our webinar control panel. Not only will we have team members responding to questions during the live event, but we'll also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the presentation where we'll discuss in greater detail some of the top questions that you ask. The Q&A panel is also the place to let us know about any technical issues that you might be experiencing. A browser refresh is going to fix most audio, video, or slide advancement issues, but if that doesn't work, just let us know in the Q&A and we will provide further technical assistance. Second, in the handout section of your webinar control panel, you'll find that we're offering several resources. I'd especially like to call your attention to a PDF on simplified disaster recovery and ransomware protection. You can also find a link to the Gorilla Guide Book Club, where you can get access to Actual Tech Media's great printed resources on technology topics, as well as a link to the ATM Event Center, which has our calendar of upcoming events. So I encourage you to access those resources now and share them with your friends and colleagues. Third, at the end of this webinar event, we will be awarding a $300 Amazon gift card to one lucky registrant. Of course, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for the prize. Official terms and conditions of today's prize drawing can be found in the handout section. Scroll to the bottom and you'll find the prize terms and conditions link there. Now, finally, one of the best benefits of this event is the opportunity to ask a question of our expert presenters. And to help encourage your questions, we have a special additional prize for you. That's another Amazon gift card, this one for $50 for the best question. At the end of the event, we'll look at all the questions, pick out the very best one, and contact that prize winner. So with that, let's get to today's fantastic content. I'm delighted to be here today with Mark and Chad from Pure Storage. Mark is a Senior Product Marketing Manager for FlashBlade, and Chad is Principal Field Solutions Architect at Pure Storage. So I'm going to turn things over to Mark to get us started.
So, thanks for joining today. We're really excited. Basically, this is the first real public showing of a new product that we just released about a month ago. FlashRecover, powered by Cohesity, has been a jointly engineered solution that Pure and Cohesity put together. The first iteration came out about 2 years ago. The FlashRecover S, which is what we just launched, represents a major upgrade in performance and architecture, and brings in some new functionality that we hadn't had before, like multi-level ransomware protection. So we're real happy to show you, kind of that today. So let's just take a level set about what's going on in the market, right? Most of the world out there is still using, disk, right? We've got your backup, especially in the backup world, right? There's the old adage was, you used to be able to, focus in on the how many backup jobs you could do in a backup window, and how much you could press that down and dedupe it. So you didn't, your backup data didn't take a lot of storage space. Well, that was before we had major outages and we had really data-centric companies. Nowadays, if I said, hey, after an outage, it's going to take a month to get back up and running, you would immediately be looking for a new job, right? So in today's data-centric environments, we're really dependent on our data. So minimizing downtime has become a bigger priority than how many backups can I squish into a backup window. Enter into Flash, you've got these wonderful cost deltas that are coming together right now, where Flash is actually becoming as economical as disk. And if you look at kind of what the benefits are, it starts to really make sense. Flash is denser, uses less energy, it's faster, it's more reliable, it's less mechanical. So all those things together with what's happening in the market is making it an extremely attractive medium to start putting backup data on. The biggest benefit that we do have, hands down, is the ability to restore. So if we take and Chad will get into this more, but if you take an outage, whether it be ransomware or some natural disaster or a power outage, right? Whatever it may be, if you had to restore an entire data center off of disk, you're really in trouble, right? The restore speeds are going to be really cumbersome. With FlashRecover, we've actually been able to restore more than a petabyte in a day. So think about that. A petabyte on disk is going to really probably take you weeks, if not a month, versus having restore off of Flash, and you're going to be able to restore that in a single day. So you can go ahead, Chad. And I think we talked a lot about this. There's other things that are really driving, a change in the backup world as well. We've got more compliance requirements than we've ever had before. Being able to store more data for longer and be able to recover it quicker has been really driving a lot of change in thinking around your backup strategy. The other thing is that you've got shrinking IT budgets and shrinking headcounts. We've got an increase in ransomware. So all those things are really making Flash actually more attractive. And why is that? Well, with a simplified, unified workflow where you've got your backup application tethered together, integrated together with your storage infrastructure, it takes less people to manage it. You're not managing multiple silos of IT and trying to make it all work. This fits together. You've got a single pane of glass where you can actually start controlling things. You've got the performance that allows you to address the backup realities. And then the other thing about this is that when you look at some of the other data protection solutions in the market, they're using single use hardware. So that hardware does nothing but store your backups and recoveries. When you look at our Flash as a back end, you have the option of being able to do more than one thing with it. So you can run multiple workloads, run your log scans while you're not doing backups. You've got that ability to get more bang for your buck. Go ahead, Chad. And so I think we talked a lot about this before, and some of the single-use appliances you're going to see there on the left. Cost per gig or terabyte, it's you're getting a single use, so your return on investment is really low. Your total cost of ownership on those goes up, right? And if you're able to purchase in our case, a FlashRecover and run multiple workloads, you can actually average that cost out to be more in tune with what is going on in your IT infrastructure. And so we do a lot of work with analysts out in the industry, and one of the things that comes up pretty regularly when ESG, one of our analyst firms that does customer interviews, we find that basically businesses can't afford to be without their data. We are so dependent on having our systems to operate today that even an hour's worth of loss is traumatic to a business. So that, the point of all this is, one, you need to have a great ransomware recovery strategy, which I think we will show today. But the other thing is you have to have the ability to restore as quickly as your business can handle, right? Like the quicker, the better, because every hour that goes by puts you more in jeopardy of a significant impact. Go ahead, Chad. And with that, Chad's going to take you through the backend architecture, some of the technology that we've built FlashRecover on, and talk through our ransomware multi-level story. So
great, thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. So, with this, poll that we just did, there was more than 40% of you that reported you've been attacked or you've been attacked multiple times. And what we're wanting to talk about here is give you a solution that is going to allow the recovery from that experience to be much better, to be substantially reduced from the amount of time that it takes to service your SLA, to get your application, to get your environment back up. One of the greatest examples we had with FlashRecover was with one of our customers who previously to having FlashRecover in his data center did have ransomware attacks. And the recovery that would, the latest recovery that he had took him roughly 3 to 4 weeks to bring the majority of his environment back online. That's a pretty substantial amount of time, work, late nights, weekends to get that infrastructure back online. Not even to mention the amount of cost that's been lost from lost productivity, lost manufacturing, all of those pieces, that infrastructure that IT is supporting. When he implemented FlashRecover, he now does once a quarter a test of his entire recovery workflow, bringing his entire data set back, just like he had had a ransomware attack. And he is able to complete that and have his environment stood back up in 3 hours. So he's taken a process that took weeks and he's been able to reduce it to a number of hours. And in fact, when we do interviews with him, with customers and at events, one of my favorite responses from him is that he doesn't want to work anywhere in the future that doesn't allow him to recover from ransomware in about 3 hours. So it's a huge testament to what we've built here and the ability to substantially reduce that. But I want to cover first here, before we get into what's new with FlashRecover S and how it addresses that security posture and that recovery posture, what one of the foundation pieces are with FlashBlade S. And I've just got a couple comments that I want to make here, because FlashBlade is that foundational layer that sits underneath FlashRecover that's paired with the DataProtect platform that is available from Cohesity. And what's important that we built with FlashBlade is we've built a scale-out, high-performance, high-density flash-first technology that is really the foundation of our unified fast file and object strategy. Why this is important is it allows and it provides a bunch of capabilities that we found are really important in the backup workflow, but also in the recovery and in the security and the ransomware protection piece. We've taken a technology that is Flash, that has properties of very low latency, very high throughput, but very beneficial towards large amounts of transactions. So if you compare this to spinning disk, a spinning disk, you might get 80 or 100 IOPS out of, but you're talking about tens or hundreds of thousands of IOPS from a FlashBlade system or from individual nanocells. So you may ask, why is that important? Well, when you're wanting to recover backup data, deduplicated data as fast as possible, that is a highly random transactional workload where you've got to do a lot of concurrent IO operations to be able to sustain very high throughput rates. And when we paired very intelligent deduplicating compressing engines like we get from Cohesity Data Platform with FlashBlade, we found that we were able to substantially beat the market from a performance and from a security and a sustainability perspective with that combined solution. So we've built something from the ground up that is that data hub multi-dimensional platform. You can put FlashRecover on it. but you can still run other workloads. There's a lot of resources that are left available on it. If you look at these performance profiles that we've got the FlashBlade first generation, if you will, that sits in the yellow triangle. The S200 that we've released really builds upon that performance and that density and that cost profile, so that we've got a system built for high performance recovery in a secure fashion of backup data. So with that, FlashBlade is sort of that foundation where all of the data is stored. Let's talk about how we're addressing that with FlashRecover S. Now, FlashRecover S is the second generation, the second iteration of our FlashRecover product, which was the first jointly architected all-flash data protection solution, delivering three key properties: speed, that accelerated restore, but also accelerated backup; security, and we're announcing enhancements here with our safe mode piece; and sustainability, built upon our disaggregated architecture, which means you're able to give better performance at a substantially reduced footprint. And to our attendees that are joining from Europe, that is a very important conversation that we're having with a lot of our European customers: is how do I reduce the energy consumption, the floor space consumption, the ancillary components that I need to connect into my infrastructure. And we'll highlight throughout these slides how we actually address those as part of this infrastructure. So it's important to remember and to know that FlashRecover S, is built with three key components. There's a pure FlashBlade I just talked about at the core that holds all of your backup data, and more importantly, all of your backup metadata. And that's a key change that we've made with FlashRecover S that's really laying the foundation for higher levels of performance, recoverability, and sustainability. The same Cohesity data platform that has been out for many, many years, that's deployed on premises, that's deployed in the cloud, that they service with their Fort Knox offerings and other ones, that same software stack, those same ISO images are running on FlashRecover. So you've got full compatibility across the product suite, multiple FlashBlade generations, but also multiple technologies and capabilities that Cohesity is offering directly to you as well. And then we tie that with our PXG compute nodes. And what's important about our second generation that we're announcing here as part of that is we've further tuned those for the fact that all of the data and all of the metadata, is stored on FlashBlade. So that has allowed us to build a higher density node with substantially improved performance from a network and a processing perspective as well, to address where the modern data protection environment. So with FlashRecover S, let me hit right up front here, right more towards the beginning here, what the key changes are that we're making. So if you're familiar with FlashRecover, all of those foundational pieces are still there. This is what we're adding with FlashRecover S as our second iteration of this product. The first piece, and probably one of the most popular requests, one of the most important requests that we were able to do, is that we have integrated our safe mode technology on FlashBlade with the Cohesity data platform software. So in doing so, we actually now put not only the data, but now the metadata, the system metadata that represents the internal key value stores, all of that deduplication data, the policies, the provisioning, the job states, replication configurations, your cloud archive stuff, all of that metadata pieces are now stored on the FlashBlade with the backup data itself. So what we've been able to do is tie all of that together so that now you can take consistent safe mode snapshots of your entire backup environment. So why is that important? Well, traditionally, the old way of doing things, if you had a ransomware or an attacker come in and compromise your backup environment, your recovery from that would be, let's get some new servers, let's install the operating system, let's install the backup software, let's load our catalog, let's go mount our storage pool, and then let's start a slow recovery since we're all disk-based or maybe hybrid approach if it's newer ones on top of that. That's a process that at best would be multiple days to get you to the point where you can start recovering pieces. With FlashRecover, we've published some videos on our website with FlashRecover S, where we've demonstrated a recovery of the entire FlashRecover system. That's the cluster, all of your policies, your jobs, the metadata, the entire state to a safe mode snapshot in about 25 minutes. So now if you've got an attacker that's not only compromised your environment, but has compromised your backup infrastructure, you can now bring yourself back to a known good, clean point in time, about 25 minutes, and start your rapid restore and your instant recovery processes. The goal of this, allowing you in the worst case scenarios to substantially shrink that SLA and get back as fast as you can. This is a complementary product to Cohesity Data Lock. It's important that for a holistic, multi-layered security posture, that you address it from the data lock policy protection level, from the storage layer with safe mode, and that you tie both of those pieces together, and you do so on infrastructure and components that are built on very secure operating system foundations, like the secure Linux that we've got underlying data platform. The second piece that we're including here is the PXG2, our revision on the PXG1 compute nodes. These nodes are substantially improved from a throughput and a processing perspective. You're now going to get 10, 25, and 40 gig network options with additional newer options potentially available in the future. You're also getting a very improved, in fact, the fastest one that is available on any data platform product, CPU. So that allows us to run at higher rates and with greater densities, the amount of deduplication and restoration processes that we're able to do on an individual node. So that's going to allow you to further improve the density footprint that you have in your environment. Fewer nodes, fewer network ports, less power, less cooling, less infrastructure cost to burden as part of that. Because we're running the same data platform software that runs across the Cohesity stack, all of the improvements that they've been making with additional sources, the universal data adapter, improvements to the cloud archive functionality are all included in FlashRecover as well. We have full and official support for the FlashBlade S that we went through and tested and certified. So now you can choose FlashBlade or FlashBlade S as your infrastructure component. And we've now made the product available globally. So anywhere that Cohesity and Pure are able to transact business through our partners, you're able to procure FlashRecover S and all of the components locally. Digging in a little bit into the security posture that we've got here, that's going to be my net focus of the next few slides. It is important that when you're deploying FlashRecover S, if you want the greatest level of protection, that you implement both data lock and safe mode. Data lock is the technology that's going to allow you to prescriptively apply unique worm retention immutability policies at a protection job level or at a source level. So that's going to allow you to be very granular to say, this data, we need to enforce keeping it for 30 days. Maybe the data over here associated with these protection jobs, I need to keep for 7 years, and I need to ensure I have a copy in the cloud. You can now enforce that at the software, at the operating system level with data platform in a fashion that is not changeable via API, via systems administrator, via other users. They're doing that enforcement layer at the data lock perspective. That's your first step in securing the data platform. The second step, now that all of the data and the metadata is on the FlashBlade, is to tie Pure Safe Mode to that. So that on a periodic basis, typically once a day, is going to take a consistent snapshot of the entire FlashRecover S system that you can use as a recovery copy of last resort. It is safe mode, so it is immutable at the FlashBlade level as well. Errant APIs, systems administrators, jobs, etc., are not going to be able to go in and eradicate that data. That is protected for your safe mode duration, which typically we keep for the 5 to 7 day window. Typically, that's going to be enough time for people to identify I've been attacked and I need to go fix something. In fact, in our tests, when an attacker goes and is able to compromise these systems, in our test profiles, that the Cohesity native protection mechanisms that are continuously health checking things identify something's wrong within a second or two. So you're going to know very quickly if something's occurring that's got this deep level, this deeply into your environment. But this is all part of our security pyramid for the foundations that we bring to the ultimate goal, which is cyber recovery. So before the attack is occurring, and we're focused here on the recovery, the backup piece of it. Again, you're going to have other technologies from our partners that are going to sit at your network edge. They're going to do intrusion detection that might be sitting on your servers, your endpoints, and be looking for activity occurring as it occurs. You're still going to be utilizing those technologies as part of a holistic cyber resiliency strategy. But when you get the data into the modern data protection platform, into the FlashRecover S, we're providing protection, one, before an attack. Before an attack means we're securely building and protecting the platform itself so that it is resilient, if not immutable, from an attacker to be able to compromise it. But then during the attack, we're bringing in data that's potentially been compromised. So we need to provide you the ability to identify, has this data been compromised? And then allow you, after you've identified that the attacks occurred, to go in and choose the right restoration point to make, and to do so with rapid restore, with massive scale, with instant recovery that is usable as your recovery method. Again, the goal being, let's shrink that SLA, the time to recover your application or your data center as a whole, as low as possible. So you'll see from different features and products that we've got that allow us to deliver this. Your first is we're preparing, with these platform guardrails, the platform from the Cohesity DataProtect, our data platform, as well as the FlashBlade. So things like immutable safe mode snapshots, protecting the entire state of the environment. Data lock, protecting the configuration. Encryption of the data, the ability for air gap capabilities, but also being able to control the access to the system. A well-built secure Linux with a secure shell infrastructure so that users aren't able to compromise the core operating system platform that we've got there. Tying in multi-factor authentication, very granular role-based access control, having an application ecosystem that is built from the ground up to be isolated and secure, giving you the ability from these backups to do comparisons against infrastructure piece to see if there's somewhere that's been compromised, or even to be able to hand this stuff off very rapidly to forensic investigators who then would be able to identify where the attacker came in or where something was compromised. Ultimately, we've got these properties of rapid restore and instant recovery. So if you need to get data to an investigator, to a forensic analysis team, you're going to be able to get that to them in a substantially reduced amount of time versus traditional methods of trying to do a restore, ship data over network, ship a hard drive, whatever that may be, because their analysis may be something that's going to allow you to block a hole in the future. We tie on top of that all of our compliance, and our authorization to operate pieces. So that's just validation from third parties that we've built a secure solution here. But then we build on top of that the detection algorithms. So you've got built into our web-based platforms and our phone home tools the ability to use machine learning algorithms that we continuously innovate on to be able to identify from these backup snapshots, is there an anomaly? Does this look like something has attacked us that we haven't identified yet? And hopefully trying to push that detection a little bit more forward so that you can say, hey, maybe something's going on here, I need to investigate, but also to help you identify the point before the attack occurred. So we use that machine learning to identify a clean snapshot. Again, a snapshot in FlashRecover is a backup or a point-in-time backup, and then kick off a recovery or an instant mass restore so that you can get your environment back as fast as possible. Now, with that security foundation, I want to talk a little bit about some of the benefits with FlashRecover S and how they've applied to that security posture. Big advantages, big benefits that we've got with FlashRecover kind of fall into these 5 buckets: speed with rapid restore, security with data lock and safe mode, sustainability from an environmental perspective, driving substantially reduced scale of the environment, and all managed by the simplicity that you're used to from Pure, from Cohesity, from the Helios web application, from Pure One as a web application. So we talk about these as really the properties that a modern data protection platform need to have to give us the ability to identify and rapidly restore in the event of attack or even a non-attack. I mean, there's been decades of work about, all these disaster recovery, internal, external attackers that we want to protect from. All of those benefits still apply. But it's important that a platform that we build here has that property of speed. And we keep talking about that. But that property of speed lets you recover faster, but it also gives you usable instant recovery capabilities. And I'll show some examples of where that works in practice. We need to make sure that the system is secure. If your backups are compromised, if you're not running data lock and safe mode, the viability, the usability of your backups are going to be reduced. But as we build this, let's make sure we've built something with that environmental sustainability in mind and take advantage of Flash. Take advantage of the fact that we're substantially reducing the number of nodes that we need to provide better performance. And how is that going to impact things in your infrastructure? And then to do so in a method that is eminently scalable and simple to operate and to manage. So let's talk about some performance numbers that we like to share here. The speed of our FlashRecover S solution, and this was with the first FlashRecover, we're generating some new numbers with FlashRecover S, generally shows that for a recovery as well as a backup, we've got about a 4x improvement in traditional hyperconverged platforms. That allows us to restore thousands of virtual machines a day and in modest configurations up to a petabyte. The greatest example I like to prove this was one of our partners had gone and tested a traditional disk-based appliance with an open market hyperconverged appliance with pure FlashRecover, utilizing our first gen technology. The order of magnitude of difference on this was striking. They used a 5 terabyte virtual machine recovery on this test. And utilizing a traditional disk-based appliance approach, that took about 13 hours in order to recover. That was our baseline. The next generation hyperconverged, which were substantial innovations in software intelligence and software design. There's a lot that you can do in software. They were able to reduce that to about 55 minutes. That is a substantial improvement that they were able to do in software. But when we brought Flash into the equation, the capabilities with FlashBlade, that reduction, that further reduction, dropped that recovery down from a restore process to 11 minutes. So we're looking at improvements from the old way of doing things from 13 hours, potentially in some workloads down to 11 minutes, built off of FlashRecover. That's the order of magnitude of improvement and benefit that we're looking at delivering here. And when you tie instant recovery, instant mass restore onto this, you start to see where we can further improvement. Because we are built on Flash, we're not tying an instant VM restore to a spinning disk or to a couple spinning disks. It's tied to an entire FlashBlade on the back end. We can now provide usable instant restores of the data. In this case, you'll see the traditional method: initiate the restore, rehydrate the data, copy the data back, the application's using it. But with FlashRecover, you kick off that restore, and those instant recoveries within just a few minutes can automatically bring up 1, 10, 100, or 1,000 virtual machines into that data store, launch them, get them running, get you able to hand this off to your application administrators so they can start recovering your environment, and then we'll restore the data on the back end to the FlashArray-X, the original location of where that may be. And that's really highlighted here with this slide, which is, this was a test that one of our customers had done, demonstrating the rapid restore and the instant recovery component. This was about 100 terabytes worth of data. Now you've got the data copy restore. They were able to do that rapid restore at about 16 gigabytes per second. Yes, that is gigabytes, big B, not network, little b nomenclature. So pretty modest configuration, pushed some pretty substantial throughput. But they then went and showed that they could do the instant recovery, and it would boot 50 VMs in less than 5 minutes and make them be usable. And then we kicked off that same data copy restore. Now, in this case, that was using storage vMotion in the back end. all of that is automated from a programmatic, from a restore job perspective. You can configure all of this, if you're not familiar, within the restore job, within the Cohesity FlashRecover DataProtect recovery screen. You can choose all of these options that you want to undertake based upon what your SLA and what you want to do with the infrastructure. So this, at a cost, of only a couple more minutes, allows you to bring that application back up faster. And the faster you can hand off core services to your application engineers or to your core infrastructure engineers to let them start validating that, means you're going to get your application, your environment back up that much faster, even if you're still copying data around in the background. Now, we've got a couple other examples. These are what we call hero numbers. They have been published on our website. You can go look at the white papers, the solution briefs, the details on purestorage.com, and you can see all of the details on how we configured it, what the specific results were, and how we achieved that. I'm just going to give a high-level taste here, just to get you interested if you want to go in and read those. This was one of our restore performance tests of 1,200 virtual machines. Again, this wasn't the instant mass restore. This was a copy restore. So how fast can we move that data back to the primary flash array sources? And what you'll see here for these 1,200 virtual machines is we actually pushed a backup rate of a little over 7 gigabytes per second, but that restore rate, in fact, went faster, went at 8.5 gigabytes per second with a pretty modest configuration. And you'll see that configuration was only configured with about 8 FlashRecover nodes and a single chassis FlashBlade. So pretty modest configuration there. We then went, as Mark mentioned earlier, and we demonstrated a 1 petabyte per day rapid restore use case. And we'll actually highlight what that looks like physically here. We only went up to about 12 nodes here. But you'll see here we've got about 27 or so ESX servers. We've got a number of flash arrays. We really wanted to unleash what this looked like from an infrastructure perspective. And you'll see that we scaled pretty linearly as we added infrastructure. The backup went up to 13 gigabytes per second. The restore was just shy of 16 gigabytes per second. So not only are we seeing that in customer environments, but it's in line with what we're demonstrating in our hero numbers as well. That's pushing well above 40 terabytes per hour of rapid restore. That's even before instant recovery is taken into account on the equation there. But all of these high performance numbers, if it's super complex in order to achieve them, then you've arguably got limited value. We want to make sure that the full ability of the Pure experience is available to the FlashRecover solution. So you've got familiarity with the Cohesity data platform, all of Pure's on the back end, Helios, Pure One is all there. But we used the multiple years of engineering work that we've done here to do something very unique. And it's very unique in that none of the other data protection or data platform providers are doing the level of integration that we've done. So in order to make this simple and scalable, we've spent multiple years tying Cohesity data platform into FlashBlade, utilizing native API integration. These are the same REST APIs that you have access to as a user. You can go to GitHub and you can get examples on how to utilize our REST API if you want to code your own applications. But Cohesity used those same published APIs to automate the creation, the provisioning, the management, and the expansion of the system. So if your business comes to you and says, hey, we're keeping 30 days of backups, we need to keep 90 days now of retention. That may just require additional capacity. You may not need more nodes. You may not need more licensing. You may just need some additional capacity. In that case, you can hot add blades to the FlashBlade. Data platform will automatically detect it via the API calls and start utilizing that additional infrastructure. There really is no easier way to expand capacity than what we've built with FlashRecover available out there on the market. Similarly, if you need to expand throughput, your business comes to you and says, I'm backing this workflow up in 12 hours, and now I need to do it in 2 hours. It's a throughput equation. We can simply add additional nodes into the cluster that represent front-end throughput to your backup environment, and it will automatically add them, provision them, distribute the load across them, and new protection jobs that once they execute, not creating them, but once they run next, we'll take advantage of the additional nodes that you've added into the infrastructure without any other configuration changes. Very simple to expand, manage, and operate this infrastructure because we want to provide it at scale. And that's where the disaggregated really comes into play, is we can expand these layers very prescriptively based upon what is most important to your business and to your SLA. Is it front-end throughput? Is it back-end capacity? But make sure we do it with those API integrations very simply. Now, I like to wrap it up a little bit with the sustainability piece here. And this was one example where we were comparing against traditional disk-based approach to hyper-converged approach, where we were able to demonstrate a better restore performance with our PXG nodes with a customer that was running about 3 petabytes worth of data. And when you look at that disaggregated architecture of FlashRecover, you can start to see here that our power consumption versus other hybrid approaches was about 42% less. It's even better in some of our newer architectures. The number of switch ports needed, a 71% reduction in switch port infrastructure costs to provide a better performance profile. That number with FlashRecover S, we're rerunning some of these, is even higher with the PXG2. And you're getting everything being full flash-based technology. So those instant recovery are not bound by disk. They're unlimited by the ability of flash within here. And with FlashRecover S, we've got a great metric in there, 1.3 watts per terabyte of raw NAND capacity on there. If all of us go look at our laptops that we're running to go watch this, they're probably running at 60 or 70 watts right now with probably a half a terabyte of capacity on them for us to watch this webinar here. So, the last slide before I hand it back to you, Mark, I just want to highlight some of the key benefits that we've done with FlashRecover S. So with FlashRecover S, you now have full access to the Cohesity SKU set with our new go-to-market strategy that we've built here. So if you want to build infrastructures with FlashRecover S, maybe a deployment in Azure, maybe their Fort Knox type of solution from an online virtual air gap capability, you have full capability to do so. We've tightly integrated these even more. We continue to innovate on a very robust roadmap. You'll see in December, we released the safe mode and the PXG2 nodes. There's more interesting things coming over the next 6, 12, and 18 months that we'll talk about as we proceed here. You do have full global availability of this stack, supporting for FlashBlade S, Evergreen 1. You're getting those new PXG2 nodes and the improved data platform software as it continues. And again, as Cohesity releases improvements in the data platform, those apply to FlashRecover as well. And from a support experience, you now have the ability to call Pure, but you can also call Cohesity directly. We're really shrinking that line, that ability to, and that time to be able to get to skilled expert level resources. If you have support questions, you can contact your Pure team for details on top of that, but now support being more directly provided via both methods as well, while maintaining all of our back channel escalation paths and joint operations paths from a support perspective as well. The goal being able to get you to the right people, regardless of what company that is at, as fast as possible. So with that, let's open it up to Q&A.
All right. Okay. So Mark and Chad, great stuff. Sounds like impressive technology. We've also got comments in here from the audience as well as questions. Ashley is saying the speed is pretty impressive. Are you guys ready for some questions?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, super.
Absolutely.
Great. So, Mark, I think this
Thank you,
first
Scott.
yeah, I think this first one's for you. I think you were talking about petabyte a day in the intro, and Adam was wondering if that's data that's on-prem or offsite or cloud.
Yeah, that's on-prem.
Okay.
What we're able to do with the Flash layer is actually really speed it up. So if you were to do the same amount of data with say disk or even cloud, you'd have to come back, you'd get hit with an egress charge but you're really subject to the speed of the network and the traffic on the network. On disk, you've got spinning, right? So you've got seek and read spinning, right? So when you look at the comparison of flash versus disk, there's a magnitude of difference in terms of recovery speed. So having, in short, having on-prem flash storage with your data in it means that you can actually recover about as quick as quick gets.
Okay. All right. Super. And for a sort of a level set for my benefit with this new tech, how much faster is the FlashBlade S than the previous version, and how much faster than disk?
Chad, you want to take that one?
Well, thanks, Scott. This is Chad. Yeah, and I think I'll go ahead. So I think the greatest example on that was to highlight the example that I gave earlier in the presentation, where we had our partner do tests comparing a represented 5 terabyte restore of VMware from traditional all disk based approaches to hybrid based approaches to all flash based approaches. And the order of magnitude different there was really substantial, where the disk-based approaches were upwards of 13 hours for that restore, whereas the hybrid approaches were about an hour, and then the FlashBlade approach was on the order of 10 to 11 minutes. So by being able to take all of the software improvements that we get in the technology and pair that with something that is inherently optimized for deduplicated data, and Flash is great at restoring deduplicated data very fast, because deduplicated data is small block, random in nature, and it's really not tuned for disk-based systems very well. But whereas Flash is tuned for exactly that workload. And that's why we're able to get those, at least 4x against a lot of current technologies, and against previous gen technologies or disk-based technologies, substantially higher improvements on that restore piece, which opens up a whole range of new use cases that we can go after, including some that I'll cover here in some of the later questions.
Okay. All right. Super. So another one here. They're asking, when I have an outage, do I need to restore everything, or can FlashRecover let me also restore individual files and folders?
Sure. Good question. So you get the full capability of the Cohesity data platform from a recoverability and from a granularity perspective. So nothing's changed from a capability perspective. We've simply accelerated it from an instant restore and from a rapid restore component. You still get full access to individual VM restores, to single file restores, maybe within a virtual machine or from a NAS device that you've backed up, all the way to entire data store or data center level restores represented by everything within a protection job. So you've got the flexibility to, say, restore an individual file, an individual database or virtual machine, or even package it up into something substantially larger, i.e., everything representing my tier 0 or my tier 1 application environment. Let's bring all that back and restore it. And we also support their instant recovery technologies. So you could pick your entire tier 0 data center application set, and you can either restore it, or you can say boot it all in VMware immediately and then automatically migrate it back to FlashRay or my production storage. The benefit to that is, because we're on Flash, you actually get a usable instant recovery that allows you to shrink that SLA in the event of attack or an outage from hours or days down to potentially minutes, to make that system available to your application engineers or to your end users. The goal here is really shrinking that SLA for recovery in the worst case scenarios.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Next question comes from Brandon, who's asking, can you give some real world examples of FlashRecover S delivering quick and efficient restore and recovery at scale?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah,
at
we've got
our
lots to choose from.
or yep, I've got some. Mark, did you want to share one, or shall I go ahead?
No. You go ahead.
Oh, great. So at our Accelerate conferences, we've been having customers come up and give real world examples from actual FlashRecover customers and the experience that they've had. One I'd mentioned earlier with Afni was one of our Accelerate customers who demonstrated restoring his entire data center instead of over weeks within 3 hours. And that's a reference that you can speak with. You can work with your Pure Sales team to get a hold of us, and we can connect those and connect you to talk to them directly. I would also highlight another one that we brought at our last Accelerate conference, which was a customer that managed somewhere on the order of 10,000 SQL databases. And what was interesting about them is they would refresh for their development environment, for test and dev and for developers, those databases. And that process prior to FlashRecover would typically take about 18 hours to refresh a developer's environment. And now they've got that process down to a matter of tens of minutes. So less than an hour, some of the biggest ones, maybe less than 2 hours. So their ability to actually impact productivity because of rapid restore, because of that efficient restore, has been substantially improved. And those are two customers that are referenceable that I think really highlight some of the true benefits that you get with FlashRecover here.
Yeah, and Mark, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I mean, what we've heard is from our customers that when you have an outage, every second counts, right? And so the having that ability to nearly instantaneously restore has made a big difference. And so when you have that ability to move the data back and forth, there's also kind of side effects. We talked to one customer who actually uses his backups as a way of migrating workloads from infrastructure now because it's so fast. So when you have that ability to go backwards and forwards so quickly, it opens up new avenues of how to use this solution.
Okay. All right. Super. Thanks, both of you for those answers there. Let's see. Here's another one. They're asking, can you discuss the scalability and sustainability features of FlashRecover S? So Chad, maybe I'll check with you first on that one.
Yeah, I mean, and I like to highlight with the scalability and the sustainability, bring everybody back to one of the slides that I presented towards the end there. And there's two key innovations that we've got here that really drive scalability and sustainability. The first on scalability is that we've built a disaggregated architecture. So what that means is that we can scale your front end throughput-oriented compute nodes independent from your capacity, which is represented on FlashBlade. And it's all meant to utilize or to best apply the cost or the investment that you're looking to make where it is absolutely needed. Instead of buying in a hyper-converged strategy, some of everything, you can be very prescriptive. For example, if you have an SLA that is 8 hours for a particular data set and your customer, being your internal customer, comes back and says, I need to back up this data in 2 hours, not in 8 hours. It may be as simple as simply adding additional compute nodes, the PXG nodes, to add throughput for those backup workflows. You can do so and not necessarily have to buy any more flash capacity on the back end. You may not even have any additional licensing concerns as part of that. You simply are adding throughput to meet that SLA. Similarly, on the back end, if you need to change the retention on a job, your business comes to you and says, hey, we've been maintaining this data for 30 days. We need to keep it for 60 days and maybe make a cloud copy where you can simply add additional capacity to the FlashBlade. It's automatically detected by FlashRecover. There's no other operations that you need to undertake. It automatically detects and reprovisions all of that. So it's very simple to do. And now you've added additional capacity that every protection job can work with very little to no work. And you've made your investment exactly where it's needed. And that disaggregated architecture really benefits us from that sustainability slide that I showed. Our PXG nodes are really just CPU and network and memory. And our FlashBlade is one of the densest, lowest power consuming flash systems available on the market at 1.3 watts per terabyte. The combination of those features allow you to build systems that are 40 to 70% reduced in power, in cooling, and even in network port charges. And with supply chain issues right now, even gating network ports can be a long effort. So you get some real advantages there in being able to use less of them and not have to make other investments outside of backup just to support backup. There's real cost difference in having to buy 600 more 10 gig ports versus not having to do so. And that helps feed into that sustainability equation as well.
Gotcha. Super. Hey, this next question comes from Peter, who's wondering, is Flash considered reliable and appropriate for long-term backup, or is it mainly targeted at super fast restore while transferring to traditional storage media for longer-term storage?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And so, I'll talk about what it looks like now and where we see the market going in a few years. And Pure has not been secret in our opinion that with reducing NAND costs and increasing capacities, that there's going to be an inflection point sometime in the middle of this decade, potentially 2025, 2026, where the equivalent cost of flash, of NAND, is going to match that of disk. And that's where we're aiming towards. So how does it look now in 2023 versus what it's going to look like in the middle of the decade? Well, right now, for long-term backup, for immediate rapid restore backup, we target FlashRecover towards those backups that are aged in the 30 to 60-day window. That's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck, if you will. That's where you're going to get the most benefit of FlashRecover. We integrate with that our cloud archive technology. So you can put a full copy of the data in deep cloud storage, Amazon Glacier, Azure, and others, so that you can keep that longer term data secure, immutable, at a very low cost. The benefit to that is that now you can expose that data into cloud services as well. Maybe it's for DR, maybe it's restore, maybe it's just for an analytics workload. But because you've sent it off there, you get that low cost and flexible component storage. As we get to the middle of the decade, I expect that the amount of time that we can cost effectively store on flash storage while maintaining the same performance and durability is going to improve. And as we approach disk-based economics, you're going to see the amount of data that you can put on FlashRecover increase versus our current recommendation of the 30 to 60-day window.
Okay, super. So we're running up on time. We've got two more that are maybe sort of good quick hits. This first one, is all the data on FlashBlade S deduped?
Yeah, that's a good question. All of the data on FlashRecover and FlashBlade as a solution is deduplicated, it's compressed, and it's also encrypted at rest. So you get all of those core benefits that are important in reducing the capacity as well as securing it within a data protection platform. And we can go into more details in a follow-up conversation on that data path because I know we're running close on time. But as a whole, yes, it is deduplicated.
All right, super. And so we are just about up on time, but if somebody wants to get started with Pure Storage or really start poking around here with FlashRecover S, what do you recommend?
So you can reach out.
We've got
to,
a tremendous amount of resources. Go ahead, Mark.
Go ahead, Chad.
No, I was just going to say that we've got a tremendous amount of resources on our website. You can start your investigation there within the FlashRecover and the modern data protection pages. And then after that, reach out to your local sales team. We've enabled much of them and are closely tied with all of the local sales teams, and they'll know how to engage the specialist teams focused on data protection to help you discover, investigate, and solve the problem that you're trying to solve.
Excellent. Okay. Well, Mark and Chad, thank you both. This has been really a great session. Really appreciate the overview of the tech and all the insights here in the Q&A. Really appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks for having us.
All right, and before we wrap up, before we wrap up, we have one more piece of business. It's the Amazon gift card prize drawing. And the winner of the $300 Amazon gift card today is Shane Villafuerte from Nebraska. So congratulations to Shane. We will be in touch to get you your card. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank Pure Storage for making this event possible. And thanks as always for attending and for all of your great questions. That concludes today's event. Have a fantastic rest of your day.